Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
All right, welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is February 23rd. I know I always say that the year kind of is going faster and faster, but for some reason the month of February just kind of dragged on. So I'm glad it's the last Sunday of the month of February. I guess I'm ready to open up the pool and just start enjoying the spring and summertime. It's been a cold winter here in New York, and I'm ready to kiss it goodbye. So here's to the spring coming next week, at least at the beginning of the spring, March. But right there, Y&T with Mean Streak. I got into Y&T around 1982 when Black Tiger came out. And that kind of led me back into Earthshaker. That took me to Struck Down and Yesterday and Today, which were two different records. You know, their 70s albums, they were more of a hard rock band, a different sound than Y&T. Earthshaker, Black Tiger, Mean Street kind of defined the band that I fell in love with. And then when The Rock We Trust came out and Down for the Count and Contagious, they started going a little bit more hair metal, trying to get more commercially accessible. I still enjoyed the band, but I kind of lost it for buying their albums after that. I think Down for the Count was the last one I actually bought. But great band. Dave Menichetti is the only original member left. I think the only member left that's actually alive, and he's got that thing still going on today. So good for him. All right, we're gonna get to the music here. Hey, we got Patrick Murlock of Fears, I guess today. He's gonna be calling in a little later at about 7 o'clock Eastern time. So we got about an hour of music to play before we talk to him. So we'll keep it flowing here. Let's do a little Hunter. Cry to the Wind.
side door of despair. In my mind, the image of life that was there is gone, faded out of sight. Sadly now I wait and stare out at my darkest hour. Will I ever see the fate of my desires? It came to me when I didn't know, hit like a brick thrown in the cold. I looked up once, looked up twice. When I finally came to, I was cold as ice. I forgot to cry. I forgot to cry. Get out of your homes, get into the streets. You're gonna be a long time on your feet. The
Right Ruthless, Bury the Axe off their debut record, Metal Without Mercy. They're still putting out great records. I haven't spoken to Sammy in a couple of years. I don't know what the band's been up to. I don't know if they're working on any new music or things are on hold. He's got 122 different Facebook profiles, so I gotta get in touch with him and see what's happening with the band. And right before that, Mach 1, Our Forgotten City. I picked up this record in, I want to say it was 1989. The band came out around 87, 88. And they really didn't gain much traction. They were called Mach 1. They were out of California. They were kind of like, I don't know, the singer reminded me a little bit of Queensryche, and the drummer was a singer. He had a Jeff Tate styles in his vocals. I don't know, like they guess they didn't know what they wanted to be. They were sort of a little bit like a hair metal band, but an AOR band, but yet a really good heavy metal band. It was a little mix of everything. I just guess it didn't work out, or maybe the timing wasn't right. By '89, the scene was already starting to crumble apart and everything, and a year or two later it was dead. But I enjoyed that EP for what it was. It was I think it was 4 or 5 songs on there. I gotta try to find some of the guys on the show. I haven't had any luck. I used to be a great undercover detective and dig up all these bands, like all these underground groups that we play in the show. I haven't had any luck finding anybody lately. I mean, I'm even using Facebook now to try to find people because I just can't get in touch with them anymore. So the band Hunt, I've been trying to get in touch with those guys for a long time, and so many other bands, I just haven't had any luck. I mean, I know some of these bands, the guys use different names, they use stage names, they're not their real names, but I know a lot of their real names, I still can't find them. So it'd be pretty cool if I can get in touch with some of them and get them on the show. Even though I've learned from past experiences that most of those bands, when you have them on the show, you're so excited to get them because they're like these cult underground bands. They never have anything to say. It's like trying to pull teeth getting them to talk. So, I mean, that's what happens a lot of times. That's life, right? Then we had Excited with Stand Up and Fight. I mean, if Excited take any longer to put a record out, John Ricci might be back in the band again. I mean, it's taken them forever. I mean, I know COVID got in the way, but a lot of bands took, COVID to actually write music and record music. They weren't out there playing live, so they use that time to put the music together. Excited, I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, it's been years and years and years now. And John's been out of the band years on top of that. He's got a new band, which I'm hoping this year will get music by. We'll have him back on the show again. And before that, we kicked off that set with Hunter and Cry to the Wind. We were just talking about that. A couple of guys from Hunter went on to form a band called Killer Fox. Like Christian was saying in the chat room, they were kind of a terrible band. They wore makeup like Kiss, and it just didn't work out. I mean, they had 2 records out. They were kind of crappy. But I even tried to find those guys to get them on the show. No luck at all. All right, that's just the way things go, I guess. All right, Josh Todd from Buck Cherry. Even though I don't listen to Buck Cherry, I read him on Blabmouth saying that, there's still a chance for these young bands to, really make it big in music if they just write great songs. I'm trying to think what happened to Buck Cherry. They still haven't made it. They've been around for 30 years, and the only way they go out on tour is if they're playing with another band that can actually carry the tour, and they're usually the opening act. So it's funny when I hear people talking about how other bands can make it by having great music, and that band has no great music at all. It's not even they're a metal band. They're like a rock band, but it's Buck Cherry. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? And, last week I went on my little rant about, Venom making a lot of bands like that. You know how I feel. And somebody had made a post on Facebook talking about stuff like that. And I'm going to read the post here because this makes complete sense compared to the way I say it every week. Maybe if you read it like this, it'll make more sense. And this guy wrote down, imagine Derek Green reforming Sepultura, singing his songs and Max era songs. Imagine Sammy Hagar reforming Van Halen and singing his songs and the Roth era. Imagine Brian Johnson reforming AC/DC and singing his songs and Bon era songs. All of them with new guys. No disrespect and no need to dwell on the controversy, but that also literally applies to Venom Inc. I see them exactly like that, a whole different entity. I hold on to my memories of seeing the 3 guys when they first started in 2015. Now, obviously, he's an old school Venom fan himself, but he was more of a fan of the band when you had Mantis and Abaddon in there. It was kind of legit. It was like, Venom Mach 2 in a way when Tony took over on vocals. None of them in the band anymore. So I think that post makes complete sense. And if you read into it, it's true. Would you want to see any of those bands being reformed by a different guy singing the other band's songs? No, not at all. But that's what goes on with so many bands today, especially Riot or Riot 5, whatever you want to call them. Okay, it is what it is. Let's get back to the music over here. I got, Christian wanted to hear Sid, but we're going to get to that maybe at the end of this set. We'll do a few tunes between now and then. I got to get things set up for Pat to call in. It's later than normal. We usually have our first guest on at about 6:30, but we're doing it at 7 o'clock tonight. So how about we do, you know what? Let's do Obsession. I haven't played them in a long time on the show. So let's do that, and then we'll get into some other stuff. So bear with me right here while I bring it up. Let's play Bang 'Em Till They Bleed.
To witness the force unleashed on the world. A power so great it blinds their eyes. It crumbles cities and burns the skies. Spawning ages of songs unsung. But both once again in the hearts of the young. Night of the axe has returned. Bringing with him hopes of all. Night of the axe has returned. Living his life for rock and roll. I brought a message across the lounge. I'm here to tell you so you understand. There comes a power that's equal to none. For me this music is the chosen one. You wanna listen or you wouldn't be here. It's cause you want it, not because of fear. But does it scare you or corrupt your mind? So I keep coming back time after time. None of the axe has returned. Bringing with him hopes of all. None of the axe has returned. Living his life for rock and roll.
All right, Christian wanted to hear Saber, Night of the Axe. Four military guys stationed in Germany in the early 80s. They get together, they all play different instruments. They form a band, put out a record. It was such a good record, and it was very early on in the scene also. And being that they were like in the army, they had time to do this. It was pretty impressive in my opinion. But I've had no luck finding any of those guys either. So maybe one day in the future I could. And really, I think that's all they did. They put out this record and they kind of disappeared. I don't think they ever played live and it did anything else besides this. Who knows? But it was a good album. Right before that, Axe Victims, Man of the Dark, Taranga, Hammer to the Skull, and Obsession, Bang 'em Till They Bleed. Christian was asking me, well, I was talking before about looking for these underground bands and that they're always bad interviews. Christian has said, which ones were the worst. And, I named a whole bunch of bands in the chat over there. There were a hell of a lot more than that. But you know what it is? They're all nice guys. And I talk to them after the interviews are over. I keep in touch. And they call me up afterwards like, I apologize. That was a bad interview. And I get it because these bands put out a demo tape maybe in 1983, 84. That's all they ever did. But I love that demo. I love that music. And I want to talk to them about it because, 45, 50 years later, I'm still playing this music either on my show or in my house. So, I want to talk. But like, they really don't have much to say because they didn't really do much. They didn't do interviews back then. There weren't, radio shows back then doing. There was no internet back then. So like when you get them in and you start throwing questions at them, they kind of freeze up and they just don't know how to respond. And you get a lot of dead air, which is not good on the radio. You got to fill up that space. So, but they were all really nice guys, just bad interviewers, I should say. Most of them know because they've called me up afterward to apologize. I was like, it's okay, no big deal. And I've had interviews with people that were bad, and then like years later we interviewed them again because maybe the band got back together to do stuff, and they were completely different, And I find it funny because a lot of the interviews that I've done where I deal with a lot of A&R people, a lot of press people, a lot of radio marketing companies. A radio marketing company's job, his sole job, is to get airplay for the artists that are paying them, to represent them and do their press. So they want interviews, they want to do press, and I deal with a lot of companies. So for me to get like a lot of the great underground bands from the 80s and a lot of the 80s rock and metal bands, sometimes you got to interview a lot of other bands that you don't really care about, you're not interested in. They're more of the newer style metal or death metal or, alternative metal. So we've had those on the show too. I'm not into the music. I can't tell these people, no, I'm not interviewing that band because it doesn't fit my format, when their whole job is to get interviews for that band. There was a time where I must have interviewed about 100 bands that didn't fit this format early on in the show when we first started out, around 2009 and 10. I've never aired those interviews. I still got them sitting somewhere. I've never aired them because that music did not fit the show. I didn't do it. Then as time went on, I was like, all right, the people were like, well, you interviewed my bands, but I never heard the interview. So I had to stop putting them on the air, And that's just the way it goes. You have to. Like if I want to get Rob Halford on the show, I have to interview like Nile or a band like that. I mean, they're a big band and people like them. They're just not like what we play in the show. So it's a little bit of a give and a take. That's just the way it goes now, But Christian was asking about Corella DeVille. My friend Jeremy over at Heaven Hell Records, signed the band to re-release the material. I had Roger on the show. It was a great interview. He was really good to talk to. We had a good time. We enjoyed it. Months went by, and then he sends me a message on Facebook saying that he redid some music and he was going to put it out on a CD. He wanted to give me a couple to give away. Now he sent me this message at like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. I slept back then. I was still working. I wasn't retired. I work at night. I slept during the day. 8 hours later, I woke up. I opened up my messages and I'm reading the first message saying I want to send you the CD. Before I could respond, I got a new message an hour later after the first one from him saying, you're a piece of shit, you're garbage, your show was crap, you don't want to respond to me. He thought does this guy actually think that people live on Facebook all day long responding to every message that comes in? I mean, I'm on there even less and less these days than I was back then. But holy shit, 1 hour I didn't get back to him and he just tore me a new ass. So I started making posts on Facebook that I got a shit show, I'm crap, I'm this. I was great when I was doing the show. I was great that morning when he wanted me to give away his CDs, but I was no good when I didn't get back until an hour later. So he's a real prick, that guy. And I tell you, I never played the band again since then. I never will. Just a jerk off. All right, let's get back to the music. We'll send this out to Roger himself. This is Accept, Son of a Bitch. Wolf Hoffman said it's not easy keeping a band together for 50 years. It is a lot easier when there's only one original member in the band. It's kind of hard not to keep it together. Plus, out of those 50 years, they were together for about 33. They were broken up about 15, 16 years on and off. But Accept was still great back in the day. So this goes out to Roger.
You make the stars illusions and dreams. You want your heart, you know what I mean. I hear clear, see in your eyes. Like to please, it pleases to lie.
right, that was brand new Fear with Aftershock. Pat should have called in by now. I knew this was going to happen because I haven't had any contact with him since we set up this interview. And his press person set it up, and he was on the emails, and he still never responded to them. So I don't know if I wait another minute or two to see if he calls in. I actually think I have his number somewhere, so I don't know if I should dial him and call him, or just say to screw it, the hell with it. This will be the first interview in quite a while where we kind of lost a guest. I'm gonna have to start that book up again and start putting names into it. I think we need to fill it up. So let's see. Let's maybe wait a minute or two and see what happens. If he doesn't call in, maybe I'll call him. I got an interview with Conny Bloom that I did this past week. We were gonna air it on next week's show. It was pre-recorded. Maybe I'll put that on instead. I don't want to give these people the time of day when they do something like this. If you're a professional, you call up when you're supposed to call up. You don't do stuff like that. But let's see. Maybe we'll just wait a couple of minutes and see what happens. Maybe I'll play one more tune. If he doesn't call in by the time the song is over, maybe we'll go to the Coney Bloom interview and just say the hell with it. So here you go. We'll do some Sound Barrier, Hard as a Rock. All right, there you go. Sound Barrier, Hard as a Rock. You know what? I'm not going to call Patrick Morlock for fear. To hell with him. If he wasn't considerate enough to call into the show when he was supposed to call in, screw him. We got an interview with Coney Bloom of the Electric Boys. You remember those lips and hips from back in the 80s? We did this interview this past week. We're going to air it on next week's show. So we're going to play that for everybody right now. And the hell with fear. So here you go. Mike. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. It's a pleasure to talk with you today.
Finally. I'm so sorry about last time.
That's okay. I know how you feel. I think I caught what you have. It's going around the whole world.
I know. It didn't stay for long, thankfully. But yeah, I hadn't slept like the night before, and then I just fell asleep on on the sofa in the afternoon. I slept for like 3, 4 hours and woke
Yeah,
up totally confused.
that's okay. We're
Yeah,
making it happen today. That's forgive me because I'm all congested myself, so it's hard to talk. But we'll get through the interview.
yeah, man.
And listen, I have to tell you, what a fan of your band. I mean, it's hard to believe that it's a couple of years, it'll be 40 years since the Electric Boys came about. That just doesn't seem right.
I know it's weird. It's totally weird.
Did you
I,
imagine this back then? That it would actually, 40 years later, you'd be talking about the band?
that it would last that long?
Yeah.
You mean? I don't think we ever thought about it that way. I mean, to be honest, I don't. I mean, some people. I think it's good for business to plan things like maybe like set up goals like this is where we want to be in 1 year's time or 2 years time, whatever. But we've never done it like that. It's always been like projects for the time. Like, okay, let's make a great tour, let's make a new album, and so it's always been like that. So I never. There's never been a question as to if it's gonna end in some way. If Electric Boys isn't playing, I'm certainly playing. It's just the way my life is, so to speak. So no, I never thought about it like that. Thankfully, I never wrote a song like uh, My Generation or something like that. But with lyrics like that, I guess. But I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing. Let's put it that way.
You're just living for the moment. You take it record by record, tour by tour, and show
Yeah.
by show. And I get that because the music business is a hard business to predict where it's going to
Yes.
go. I mean, when I think about when the band came out, obviously, All Lips and Hips was the big hit back then when you first started. And it was played everywhere by everybody. And a lot of people, because we didn't have the internet back then, we didn't have a lot of way of communicating with people like we do now. And people thought you were a band right out of Hollywood, right out of California and LA. They didn't realize that, that wasn't where you guys came from because it was sort of like that hair metal type of thing going on. And you fit perfect into that. But if anybody listened to that first record, they had to realize you guys were so much more than that. You offered so many more, options on the menu.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. And I mean, we were always listening to a lot of different music, anything from soul, funk, blues, reggae. Not that we did any reggae stuff, but I mean, I'm just saying there's a lot of inspiration sources, and we never felt like a metal band or like that. We were always like a rock and roll band. But I mean, we came from. I mean, I grew up listening to Little Richard and Chuck Berry and all that stuff. And I mean, there was always Beatles playing in the house. When I started school when I was 7, I could like sing along to most Beatles songs. Not that I knew English, but
Yeah.
but I could sing them. So there's a lot of there's a lot of different. There's a huge musical background like that.
Sure. You talk about, singing the Beatles, knowing the Beatles, and thinking like, back then, 20 something years later, I would be recording at Abbey Road Studios. I mean, that's got to like, when you go in there for the first time, you got to say something, I can't believe that we're here.
Yeah, that was really cool. And but then it's like somebody asked us, do you want like a tour of the studio? And we're like, yeah, of course. And they showed us around and said, here's the tape machine that was used on Sergeant Pepper, blah blah blah, and stuff like that for 50 minutes, and then you start setting up your gear, and then you're back in like a recording mode as if it would be any studio basically. But it was certainly a great studio to be in, and we stay there, and like they had like apartments just across the road, or yeah. So it was just great hanging there for the atmosphere and for the sound and everything.
Thinking about all the music that you've put out over the years, obviously you never put yourself into a box. Like you said, you've experimented with all different things. If you want to be a commercially successful band, Is that the formula to go with? So you maybe hit something that appeals to somebody, or do you just say, we're going to write what comes out, and hopefully people will, buy into it and want to hear it?
If you want to be commercially successful, I think you should ask someone else. I mean, I know I was actually talking to someone yesterday about this, that it always felt like we were, like if there's mainstream hard rock or whatever, and it always felt like we were like traveling alongside of that, like in our own, we had our own lane,
Yeah,
a little bit outside, like outsiders, and I, I don't know, I just don't think we ever liked the idea of being, followers, even though we are, because of all the great music that we have been listening to. We're all like, just following up on that basically. But it's still, there's always that urge, or that the idea is to try at least mix things up so it sounds a little bit different, and try to do something that's not everyone else is doing at that particular time or something. So
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Well, with all lips and hips when it comes out, I mean, it's a blockbuster hit. So, I mean, in the end, I mean, you can't say, anything negative about it because it really put the band on the map. But is having a hit song so quickly off the bat like a curse, or is it more of a blessing?
I look at it as a blessing for sure, because that's the song that opened up all doors basically to everything, and to tours, touring America, and to working with Bob Rock, and well, everything really. So no, I'm glad I came up with that tune for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure, right. It was everywhere. Yeah, what you
Yeah.
work with, but I mean, the album was already recorded and out, but then you added more songs and you started working with Bob Rock. How did that come about?
Well, we did the first Funk Metal Carpet Ride that was released in Sweden, and then it was on import in UK. I'm not sure if I remember all this correctly now, but before the American release anyway, then I'd written a lot of different new songs, and I felt that they were much better than some of the songs on the original version, especially lyric wise. So and we told the record company we would like to do, record some new stuff, and for some reason, I guess they asked who would you want to work with, and I guess we just said Bob Rock because he was the best. At that time, everybody wanted to work with him, and so that would be like the number one choice. So that's what happened, and we recorded was it 5 new songs, I think. So that was released as like the international version of that album.
Yeah. Did you ever think about just using those 5 songs and a few more to put out your follow-up record? I mean, I know Psychonaut came out like a couple, I'm sorry, that was your solo record. I mean, Groovus
Yeah.
Maximus came out a few years after that, like 3 years.
I mean, no, well, that's like an afterthought. I mean, when you look back at it, I know someone said that wouldn't it have been like smarter just to release it as it was and then move on and do the next album? Yeah, maybe, but that's not what we felt like, and that's not what happened. So
Yeah, well, as back then too, everybody thought that what was going on was going to last forever. I mean, the writing was on the wall by 1990, and a couple of years later, everything just changed musically. Hard rock and heavy metal bands were having a hard time surviving. Grunge was getting big, and then all these different types of music started coming out that people were gravitating towards. Did it
yeah.
was it difficult for the band because it feels like you just got your foot in the door and there was big things to come, but like a lot of bands at that time, the rug got pulled out from under them when the whole music scene kind of just changed overnight.
Well, I liked when grunge started. I really liked that because I thought there was like too much of the hairspray and spandex thing going on, and they just put things down back to the roots again. It was all about music again, which I thought was really cool and really good. But then on the other hand, like you said, the business changed a lot, and a lot of bands got dropped, and because record company people started looking at music in a different way. Something that was in fashion one year was all of a sudden not in fashion because they wanted to, do the more grunge bands or whatever. So Yeah, we had that problem. I mean, we got dropped after Groovus Maximus, and we did Mary in the Mystery World. That was the single, and then we had a song called Dying to Be Loved, which I always thought was that was like that would be like the third single, and that's gonna like really break us. I
Yeah.
was sure of that, and that's what fans tell me. I mean, even today, it's like
Yeah.
they think, but so I was sure, Now we're going. Okay, now it's time for the big one. Let's do a video, and then all of a sudden we got dropped because they were like, no, we spent enough money on the last video or album or whatever. So, and I think there was a change within the company with the A&R people. I think I'm not 100% sure, but that's usually what happens. And then some new guy comes in who doesn't care about one or two bands or whatever. So then all of a sudden they're out. So like that, yeah, that affected us. But grunge in itself, I thought that's something I just thought was good.
Yeah. And the last record was Freewheeling in 94. I mean, there were some new
Yeah.
guys in the band at that time, but I mean, when it comes to an end, I mean, is it kind of heartbreaking or is it a relief that it's over at that point in time where you can say, I'm going to move on to different things now because I'm a musician? Or there's a party that says, wow, I wish we could have, tried to have made this thing work out.
Uh, Again, it's all about the music. So when I mean there was new blood and we were excited and we went back to Abbey Road again, as a matter of fact, for that album and had a blast recording it. It was a little bit heavier, which felt good. It was a change that felt good at the time. And then the record company uh, did didn't follow up on it. We recorded it, and then I was like, okay, what are you gonna do promotion wise? And they're like, oh, we don't have any money left. What? I'm like, what do you mean you don't have any money left? You haven't you planned for a promotion plan? And this guy was just like, I don't know. Well, you gotta talk to your boss now, no, obviously, because you need money to promote this album. And yeah, but I can't. He didn't have the nerve to do it.
Yeah.
So it was just fucked up. I mean, so nothing happened with that album at that time. And then I just felt like, oh fuck, that's it. I want to do something else. And so then it started, started doing other things, which was inspiring again, because you have to be inspired, otherwise you won't make a great album. That's where what it all comes down to.
That's very true. And after the band broke up and it was over, it was a couple of years later that I got the Psychonaut record, your first album. And when you're buying it, you figure, what, it's probably gonna be like, the Electric Boy is gonna kind of continue that, but it was completely different. And actually Titanic Truth kind of slipped by me. I didn't even catch that at the time. It was after Psychonaut that I realized Titanic Truth was out. And that was more similar to the Electric Boys, but your solo stuff, you went in a whole different direction.
Yeah, I did. I needed to do that. I wasn't. I couldn't make another Electric Boys album at that time. I wasn't inspired. I wasn't feeling that kind of music, I guess. So, but Psychonaut I like because when that was released, I strongly felt that you can't buy this album in the record stores. It's what I'm saying is that I felt that it was different, which is that's the only reason to put a new album out, to make at least have some sort of to fill some sort of space, hopefully somewhere.
Yeah.
So and then when I look back at that, I actually think that's got some really good songs on it.
It does. It's got some great tunes on there. And I was looking for so much more after that. And then next thing I know, you pop up on All Your Rocks. You were with them for a while.
Yeah, I was, because after that album I was just hoping that things would happen, but what what from what I remember was that a lot of people like reviews and stuff, and they said it's really great, but it's not really Electric Boys or whatever. And I'm like, but that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I quit the band to do something else, but it just felt like people weren't ready for that kind of thing with me. They didn't want that. They wanted something else, and that's not what I was doing. So And then I got this letter, as in the, with snail mail from Ginger, from the Wild Hearts, who wanted to put this band together, Silver Ginger 5. So that was the next thing I did uh, for some time. We toured UK a couple of times and Japan and Hanoi Rocks. Yeah, I joined Hanoi Rocks 2005 and stayed till like 2009.
Yeah, and Andy was with you in Hanoi during that time period. Also, you two guys have kept this going together, for decades now, the two of you.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that was actually McCoy's idea
Oh,
because he had been Andy AC, we called him in Hanoi, because not to confuse things, but the Electric Boys bass player Andy, he had played with Andy McCoy earlier on a solo tour, so he knew him from that. So when I came over to Andy came to Stockholm to do something, and he's McCoy, that is, and he said that. Oh, we got the same record collection, man. He saw my Undisputed Truth records and T-Rex and everything on the wall, and then he left, went back to Finland, and called me a couple of days later. You want to come over and hang and do some playing? So I came over, and then he said, "Hey, what's Andy doing nowadays?" Ankan, as we called him in
yeah.
Swedish. I don't know, man. I want him in the band too. So we've been we've we've been doing we've been traveling. We've been doing a lot of things together over the years since we were 14. Actually, that's when we met in school.
Yeah, that's a long
Back
time.
and forth. There was many years where we didn't play together. When we did the Psychonaut, when I did that, and Titanic Truth and some other things. But yeah, we keep, we're good pals. It's like I don't have any other brothers. He's like my brother.
Sure, after all those decades. And you talk about Hanoi Rocks. I mean, Monroe and McCoy, two people with very strong personalities. You guys come into the band and you already have, you guys also have very strong personalities. You're songwriters, you're musicians. You've already had your own success with your own band. Is it hard finding your place in there, or does everybody kind of know like who they are?
It was actually quite. It just fell into place because we've known the guys since the early 80s. I was in a band called Road Rush, which was like it was a power trio with Jip Casino from Hanoi Rocks, the original drummer. And we when I was a teenager, we were touring in Finland, opening up for Hanoi when Rasa was in the band. So that's when I got to know the guys, and we always said, Andy said, we should play together. Yeah, I know, but not now. At some point we should. So when opportunity came up, let's give it a go. I thought it might last for a year or something like that, but it went on for 4.5 years because it actually, I mean, when we were on let's face it, it's a rock and roll band, right? And
Yeah.
it's ups and downs, and it's never like the same thing. But I like that. I don't like when things are like exactly like nowadays with people have all the backing tracks and everything. I'd go crazy about that. I want things to change. But on a good night, it was really, really good.
That's
And
fantastic.
yeah,
Well, getting back to the Electric Boys, I mean, you guys decided to put it back together. Did you just feel that the time was right, that people were looking for this, they wanted it, and it was with the original lineup too?
again, we never think about if what people want. It always comes from what you want to do yourself, because that's how you gotta do it. Uh, and I think me and Andy, the bass player, we went back from Finland on the boat after Hanoi had done the 8 last shows in Helsinki, and I think it was actually on the boat back, and I said to him, like, what do you feel like doing now? I said, I don't know. What about you? I actually feel like going back to what we used to do, and because I hadn't been singing and being the front man for many years, I actually felt like that could be fun again. And he said, "Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing." And then we said, "Let's call the guys and see if they want to do it." We actually didn't think they wanted to, but then they did. So it yeah, 2009 I think was the first show we did at Sweden Rock. That was like the reunion thing.
Yeah, and then the boys done Swang in 2011. And I mean, did you have to get yourself into a certain frame of mind to write for the Electric Boys again? Because you wrote so many varied things, but then again, Electric Boys, like we said earlier, was a little bit of everything. So it didn't matter what you would write, it would still be the Electric Boys knowing that you were doing it. But did you have to get into a certain frame of mind to bring that sound back?
Not really, because it's so me. I mean that
Yeah.
whole groove and those kind of riffs and everything. Just that's the way I play, and that's how I swing, so to speak. So no, um, well, I do. There was one thing that confused me a little bit, which was this whole thing is like that comparing the new stuff to Lips and Hips, for instance. I, I started doing that for a little while. And I'm like, okay, should we do something completely different, or should we try stick to this? And we came to the decision that it was really important that the first album that we did after the reunion sounded like us. Um, but because I mean, regarding Lips and Hips and those kind of songs, I couldn't write that song again, and what's the point? I've done it already. So I'm just hoping to write songs as good, but in a different way. So I came to that conclusion pretty fast. I can't do that anyway. Let's forget about that and what is Electro Boys nowadays, and how's that gonna sound like? And that's how we've approached it ever since that time, really.
Yeah. I mean, is songwriting something that's always come easy to you, or is it something you really had to work hard on?
Um, I'm not good at working hard at it. I mean, some people really, all these songwriters that write for other artists, they're like songwriting teams, and they go to work like 9 to 5 and actually like really work. But I've never been able to do that. All the what I would consider my best songs, like the songs that are always the songs that end up being singles, and it's always the songs that people end up, singing along to at the gigs and everything. Like a few of them, I could say that will be Lips and Hips, it will be Electrified, it will be Mary, In the Mystery World, and then there's a bunch of new ones. But all those songs came to me like really fast, like just hanging around watching TV with a guitar in my hand kind of thing. I wasn't like trying hard to make those songs or to write those songs. Every time I sit down and like really try to write something, or I gotta write a hit or whatever, it's not happening. It's just not happening like that. So yeah, they come easy, or they don't come at all.
That makes complete sense. Yeah, I think anytime you try too hard to write something, you just get lost in the moment. And it has to be a natural thing. Like it says, if you're just sitting around and something comes to you and you create it from there and then you take it on. I mean, you've been the primary songwriter, throughout the entire career of, Electric Boys and yourself and everything else you've done. So, I mean, just ever run out of ideas? You ever just sit there and say, I don't know where I'm going to go next.
I haven't written a song in a long time now. I did actually with a friend of mine yesterday. We wrote 2 songs, but before that, there was we wrote one more song actually half a year ago or something like that. But the last album we released was Grand Explosivos. That was released at the end of 23.
Yeah.
And I haven't been writing since. I've been painting. I had like an exhibition,
Oh,
and
nice.
I've been doing shows. You know, actually did this that was fun. It was the last show, the last gig I did was with Frank Furr from Guns N' Roses, because he was over in Sweden doing like a clinic thing, and he wanted to end the clinic with, to play some live music with some people. So he got me, and I brought along my bass player from a solo band, Mats Rydström, and that was, I mean, stuff like that. That's fun, That's nothing but fun.
True. I mean, you know the way the business was years ago. It was like you put out a record, you go out on tour, you put out a record. It was like year after year after year. It was like a repeat cycle. Do you feel
Yeah.
there's any rush to put out new music today? I mean, it was 2 years between Upside Down and Grand Explosivos, but is there a need to put out another new record right now, or you just wait till the time is right, or you feel it's right, and then give us new music?
Yeah, it'll come when the time is right. I mean, which means when we have the music done, I'd say it always comes down to that. And I don't know, it's just something about, maybe it's like, getting older, being a bit more chilled out about things or whatever. But this whole thing nowadays with the social media and all this stress and all it that whole, to break through all that noise that's out there at the
Yeah.
moment is really difficult for everyone, whatever business you're in, because it's everything is everywhere at the same time. And everyone's like, oh, you gotta be, posting this much on Insta, or you gotta, do this on Facebook or whatever, and it's all a, you know, I, we've tried that, but I think at the end of the day, it's, if you write a song, uh, and people really like it, things will happen. I think then that's when people are gonna start sharing it, and and things will happen anyway.
I think you're
Um,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
I think it was so much. I mean, I know with the internet today, things are so simple. Like you could click a button and get your music out there and go all over the world in minutes. But I actually think it was easier for a band if they were able to get that breakthrough. Back then in the '70s and '80s, to have some success. Where today, I think, like I said, you just get lost in the mix of a million things. There are 2 million kids in the bedrooms creating music with computers and artificial intelligence, and they're creating bands. You don't know who they are, what they are, and it's not real most of the time. So, I think it's hard. Do you think if the Electric Boys started today in this environment musically, that you would have had the same success you had back in 1987, 88, 89?
interesting question. It's like somebody said, would if Bob Dylan or Mick Jagger would have been on Idol, American Idol or whatever, would they have liked it?
Yeah.
It's like it's a fun thought, but I don't know, man. You just gotta keep doing what you're doing. That's all there is to it.
I know, and I'm glad you keep doing it. Connie, I'm not going to keep you long because I'm about to have a massive coughing fit. But I mean, Mr. by Minute, another single that was released off your last record. I guess it's kind of helped promote this tour with Heat you have going on in
Yeah,
about 2 weeks from now. That sounds like it's going to be a great tour. The two of you guys together, I think, is a perfect match.
yeah, that'll be great fun. And I think we do pull different crowds as well, so it'll be good.
And it'll be excellent. You think you get the band over here again one day back in the USA?
I certainly hope so. I mean, the tours we did over there was fantastic. I mean, last time we were over was on the Monsters of Rock cruise, but that's not considered. I mean, it's like out on the sea, so it's not even like you're in America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm like, oh shit, how are we gonna do this? All the paperwork and everything, and it's like, no, there's nothing because you're on the out on the sea.
Yeah.
But that was great, and just to get to Miami and hang there for a while, and I went down to LA for a while, for a bit, and stuff like. I mean, there's so many memories. We've had so much fun over there. So, but it's a pretty big thing to get a band over from here. It costs a lot of money to begin with for the working permits and all that shit. So there has to be like a proper plan behind it.
Exactly. Everybody would love every band they love to come over and play where they are, but they don't realize the financial aspect that's behind it and all the work that goes into getting over here. And in the end, you have to recoup your money and make some money. That's what the business is all about in the music business.
Yeah, I mean, we really want to go, so to speak. It's that would only be about the whole financial thing, and to have someone who believes in it enough to who's crazy enough to put up the money or to set it all up.
True. Well,
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
I hope it can happen one day. But Connie, it was a pleasure talking to you. Like I said, a big fan for a lot of decades. It makes me sound really old, but I'm there with you.
Thank you, man. I'm glad. It was nice talking to you
You,
finally.
you too. Take care. And
Yeah.
I'll talk to
All
you
right.
soon. Bye bye.
Yeah. Take care. Bye.
Are you ready to believe? Are you ready to believe?
All right, there you go, the Electric Boys. We did that interview this past week. We're going to air it on next week's show. Next week, we got Tim Wolfen from Rolling Coffin on the show. Tim's been around in this business for a long time, playing a lot of bands. This is his latest project. We had him on a couple of years ago when they put out their debut record. So we're talking to Tim next week live. And we had this Coney Bloom interview we're going to air also next week. But thanks to Fear not calling in tonight, you got it a week early. So there you go. All right, let's keep the movie. We only got about 15 minutes left in the show. Let me play one or two more tunes. We'll talk a little bit, and then we'll wrap it up here tonight. Let's do some Rough Cut. Run for Your Life. right, that was Halifax with Never Surrender. We're going to wrap it up here tonight. One more tune. I want to thank Coney Bloom for the interview this past week. If it wasn't for him, we'd have nobody on here tonight. When we ended the show, the live show at least, in 2020, and we came back 2 years later, we kind of opened up the book and cleared all the names out of it. We started fresh. We started from the beginning. All those bands that were banned, we played again. But you know what? We got to put fear in the book. That's all I can say. He screwed me good tonight. If I didn't have that interview, we'd have nobody on the show. So, I mean, I don't like when bands do stuff like that. So, we are definitely going to put fear in the book. So, let the name of fear be stricken from every book and tablet, stricken from all pylons and obelisks, stricken from every monument of heavy metal. Let the name of fear be unheard and unspoken, erased from the memory of men for all time. So let it be written, so let it be done. Fear's in the book, the first one for 2025. Hopefully we don't have any more. I think we're going to have one more next week because besides Tim Coffin, Tim Wills from Roller Coffee, we're supposed to have Kate the Pen on next week. Kate takes forever to get back to me. When he does, it's always past the interview date. He was supposed to be on the last 2 weeks, and he gets back to me after the interview. So I think I'm going to have to add him to the book. I hate to do it, but we'll see what happens next week. We'll give him this whole week. All right, let's close it out here now with a little Heaven. I want to thank everybody for listening and being here tonight. I do appreciate that. Let's close it out with Scream for Me. Take care, everybody. I will see you next week.